Welcome to the episode 18 summary of the Reading Finnegans Wake in 200 Sessions podcast, where we analyze Finnegans Wake by James Joyce 3 pages at a time. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. All right, today we are going to be tackling what might just be the Mount Everest of literature, James Joyce's Finnegans Wake. Now, this book is famous, or maybe infamous, for being one of the most difficult books ever written. It's like a puzzle box of language that has stumped readers for almost a century. But what if I told you that hidden inside all of that crazy complexity, there's actually a simple, dramatic story? Well, our mission today is to find a key and unlock it together.
So, right off the bat, you get a sentence like this. And let's be honest, it feels like complete nonsense. A jumble of weird images and words that seem totally made up. This is the challenge of the book, for sure, but it's also the key. This isn't just a wall of text. It's a code, and it's practically begging us to solve it.
And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? What is Joyce even trying to say here? Well, I promise you, there is a story in there. A pretty dramatic story, actually, about scandal, rumor, and a man on the run. We just need to find the right tools to crack the code. So let's start by listening in on what the people in this dream world are saying.
Okay, so the first part of this section throws us right into the middle of a total firestorm of gossip. A huge scandal has just erupted around our main character, a guy known as HCE, and literally everyone has an opinion. It's this chaotic mix of judgment, sympathy, and just outright condemnation. It really paints a picture of a city that is completely obsessed with this rumor.
You know, the first voice we hear isn't what you might expect. It's not someone calling for his head. Instead, it's a barmaid, and she's actually sympathetic. She says it would be a scarlet shame to lock the guy up. This tells us right away that public opinion is really divided. Not everyone is rushing to judgment. And then you get this, a fantastic, contradictory take from a 17-year-old preacher named Ida Womwell. She calls HCE a brute, but then immediately follows it up with, but a magnificent brute. I love that. It's not a simple good or bad verdict. It's passionate, it's complicated. He's somehow both a monster and impressive at the same time, which really gets at the ambiguity of the whole scandal. On the complete other end of the spectrum, we've got Brian Lynsky, the boy cursor. His opinion is just aggressive, violent, and super misogynistic, putting all the blame on the women who were involved. It's a raw, kind of ugly take that shows you just how nasty the gossip mill can get. Oh, and that word canum, that's just Latin for dog. And finally, a sailor chimes in and adds yet another layer of complexity. He's like, yeah, okay, the guy was to blame, but I've got a feeling someone else was pulling the strings behind the scenes. This is our first real hint that we're not dealing with a simple crime here. There's a whiff of conspiracy, a story behind the story.
So we've heard what all these characters are saying, but to really truly understand this book, we have to look at how Joyce is saying it. The language itself is a code. It's designed to be read on multiple levels all at once, kind of like how a dream works.
Joyce's favorite tool, his main weapon in this, is the portmanteau. Now, that sounds fancy, but it's really simple. It's just a word made by jamming 2 other words together. You use them all the time without even thinking about it, like brunch, right? Breakfast and lunch. Or smog, from smoke and fog. Joyce just takes that simple idea and pushes it to the absolute limit.
Okay, let's look at one of Joyce's own examples, the word revel her. At first glance, it just looks like a typo, but break it down. You've got revolver, that's violence, you've got vulva, sexuality, and you've got her, the accusation. Boom! In one single made-up word, Joyce has packed in the themes of the entire scandal. It's brilliant.
Here's another one, a bit simpler but just as clever, ilth. Joyce just combines ill and health, and it creates this perfect new word that describes a state of being not just sick, but also poor and miserable. It's a simple little pun that tells a whole story about the character's terrible situation.
And trust me, this technique is everywhere. The word scarlet isn't just scarlet, it's also harlot. Perhaps combines perhaps with the Italian phrase per ora, which means for the time being. The entire book is layered just like this, turning every single sentence into a kind of linguistic treasure hunt.
So what happens when we start applying these code-breaking tools to that big wall of words we started with? Well, something pretty amazing happens. A clear, 2-part narrative actually starts to emerge from all that chaos. It's a story about a man trying to escape his past, only to run smack into a brand new terror.
First up, we learn that HCE has fled his home. He's basically in exile, on the run from the scandal that completely destroyed his name. He's looking for a citadel of refuge, a safe haven,
in what the text calls a wasteland, a wasteland that he hopes will be his new home. He's desperate to escape and start over.
But his escape doesn't last long. The story suddenly shifts to this really tense confrontation. A tall man, and we assume this is HCE, is stopped late at night by a masked attacker. This assailant shoves a Barkus revolver, which means a barking pistol, right in his face, threatens him with "You're shot, Major," and then starts aggressively questioning him about some mysterious fender he's carrying.
But just when we think we finally have the story straight, Joyce pulls the rug right out from under us. The narrator immediately starts questioning the very facts he just gave us. The victim was a tall man. The narrator scoffs, 6 feet is not a tall man, not at all, man. He then dismisses the entire account as transparently non-true, claiming there was no such parson, no such fender. The whole story just dissolves into uncertainty.
So what in the world are we left with? A confusing story that might not even be true, told in a language that feels totally alien? To make sense of it, we have to zoom out and ask ourselves what this whole puzzle is really trying to show us.
And here it is. This is the heart of it. Once you decode the language, Finnegans Wake reveals one of our oldest, most basic stories, a fall from grace. A prominent man is ruined by scandal. He's cast out into exile, and he's forced to live in a state of constant terror. It's a timeless, universal human drama that we've seen play out again and again.
And this leaves us with a really fascinating final thought. Maybe the whole point of all this difficulty, all this linguistic invention, isn't to hide the story. Maybe it's to make us experience it in a completely new way. Perhaps Joyce created this complex, bizarre dream language not to obscure the meaning, but to show us that these ancient stories of scandal, of guilt, of exile are still swirling around in our collective subconscious, just waiting to be dreamt again.